to make my lovely strawberry sauce, we start off with our strawberries, 600 grams. And into those, we're going to go in with sugar. That's caster sugar that I'm using there. Strawberries have just been halved. And to my strawberries, I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of water. So we're going to get those onto a medium sort of heat on the sear and saute. So level 3 or 4 probably. And we're going to cook those down. It's probably going to take around 15 minutes. We want them to get reduced to a sort of syrupy consistency. You can see already that the sugar has melted and we've got a little bit of juice in the bottom there. The consistency is changing. Now moving over to my mixer here, I've got my whisk attachment on. 600 millilitres of double cream in there. And to make this taste lovely, a teaspoon of vanilla. You want to be using a vanilla extract because it's got so much more flavour than an essence. Now we're going to whisk this to soft peaks. We're getting there with the cream. Here we go, a whole can of condensed milk going in. Give that a good scrape. We don't want to waste any of that lovely goodness in there, do we? And now give this a good stir just to combine everything together. And this is the base of your lovely vanilla ice cream that's going to have that beautiful strawberry sauce running throughout it. The next thing we want to do is get some meringue nests and crush them up and put them into the lovely ice cream mixture. Doesn't matter about the size of the pieces, small bits, big bits, it's all good. I like to save some meringue back for the end, sort of decoration on the top when you put the ice cream in your tub. And that way when you scoop it, it just looks really lovely. So once I have crushed these in, I'm going to give it a good stir, combine all those through, and then we can move on to our strawberry sauce. So I've poured the strawberries into a sieve, just over a jug here. Obviously this is still extremely warm and we're just making a really nice fine strawberry sauce by doing this. Now this pulpy bit that's going to be left over at the end, of course, you don't have to waste that. You can use that. It is more than edible. It's just nice when you have a strawberry sauce for it to be really fine like that. And especially if you are giving this ice cream to children, I do think they'll probably prefer it. And this takes more or less no time at all really to do this. But this, you could definitely have that on some yogurt, on your cereal for breakfast. So keep it if you want to. But definitely push through as much as possible. There really isn't a lot left over. And this is what your sauce will look like at the end. And I can tell you that smells absolutely incredible and so much better than a shop bought one. It didn't take much time to do that, so really worth it. So I've made some for us and some for some family and friends. And it makes quite a decent portion this. If you've got one big container, then you can do it that way. What I like to do is just drizzle over some strawberry sauce like this. Oh, look at that. Absolutely stunning. It really does thicken as well as it starts to cool. And then you can just swirl this around like that. And then lastly, you can add some extra pieces of crushed meringue just over the top. I think that's really, really nice. Looks pretty effective, doesn't it? Okay, so let's make this Ninja treacle pudding. I've started off by greasing my bowl that I'm going to pressure cook this in. In the bottom of here, we want our golden syrup. It's quite a lot that's going into here. We want 6 tablespoons. I'm using a soft brown sugar here, and we need 175 grams, so equal amounts of butter and sugar. Let's put that under here and we can start mixing that together. I've got 3 eggs that I've cracked into here. I always do that because if you do get a bad egg, if you put it straight in, you've ruined everything, haven't you? You've got to start again. So just going to put in 1 egg at a time. That will then start combining together. Into here, we need self-raising flour and 175 grams. You're also going to want to use a teaspoon of baking powder. And now for the indulgent bit, treacle. Look at that. So glossy, so good. We need a tablespoon. It's hard to measure this out because it is so sticky, but just go for it. That is the best way, I think, with this. Scrape it off with that other little teaspoon that I use so I get it all in. Just a slow mix. And that'll all start to come together very quickly. That looks great, look at that. Beautiful colour, smells really, really delicious. I'm going to be serving this with some custard later, which I think will go really well. We've got cream if not. I mean, have whatever you like with it or just have it on its own. Let's get that batter in the bowl on top of the lovely golden syrup that we've got in there. I've got a layer of parchment paper, grease paper, whatever you want to call it, and then some kitchen foil. And this is going to cover the bowl, but we want to pleat it in the middle, and that's just so that it can expand. So just like that, if you can see that properly, like that. So we've got a little pleat, so when it starts to steam, this can lift up and it's not going to be too tight. Pop that over your bowl. Now just cut off the excess string and then also just go around the edge and cut off any extras that are just hanging down with the foil and the parchment. You want just your Ninja pot in here and then add 500 millilitres of water. And then in with your rack, so that's just the bottom section of the rack. And then we can place the pudding on top and that fits perfectly in there. Slide over to the pressure cook option on the left hand side, and we want to keep this on high and we want the natural release, and I'm going to pop this on for 40 minutes. Make sure that your valve up the top here is sealed and press start. So we can now open this up, slide that over. Let's have a look inside. Let that steam out. I'm going to leave that just for 5 minutes or so, just to let that steam come out and some of that heat to be removed, and then we'll have a look at what the pudding is like inside. Okay, so now I'm going to cut off the string. Oh, I can see in the side there, it looks really light and airy. Oh, look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. So light and fluffy, and it smells amazing. Let me just lift that up for you so you can have a better look at that. Oh, smells like absolute heaven. Look at that. Really, really good. And in the bottom, remember, we have got all of that gorgeous golden syrup. And we're not eating this until a little bit later, so I think I might be best to leave it in here, and it's going to keep it slightly warm as well. But I wanted to show you when it was first cooked, and then I will turn it later on, I'll turn it out onto the plate and I will show you. I've measured out my biscuits. I'm using digestive biscuits for this as my base. I like a digestive crumb. I think it works really well. Now I'm going to measure out the butter that we need. We need to melt this, so it's unsalted butter that you're going to need to use. I'm going to simply put mine in the microwave. Quickest and easiest way, really, isn't it? To my digestive biscuits, I'm going to add some granulated sugar, just to sweeten this. It's up to you really how much you put in. 1 to 2 tablespoons is good. And then we can pour over our melted butter and just mix that in. I'm just going a little bit at a time with my butter in case I've got a little bit too much, because we don't want them to be too wet. As you can see, like when you press down like this, if it's starting to hold together, then that is perfect. Now I'm going to be using this small cake tin, and it fits perfectly in the Ninja, which obviously you do need to check that. It's spring form, so the bottom will release from the sides, which is ideal for a cheesecake. And I like to line the bottom of mine with a little bit of parchment as well, just to be sure that we're going to be able to slide it off, because there's nothing worse than when it gets stuck. And now all you need to do is just spread that out. So let's put that to one side and let's make our cheesecake filling. First thing I want to add into my bowl is my full fat soft cheese. So this is a cream cheese. Doesn't matter what brand or which one you go for, but you do want to have a full fat. It's just to do with how it sets. I've tried using low fat ones before and it's just not the same. So I'm making this a day ahead. We've got family coming over tomorrow. I want to make sure that I can put this in the fridge overnight. So I suggest that you do the same. Now I've got some sour cream, and we want to measure this out. So I've got my scales below. And then we want granulated sugar in here. We really want to sweeten this. So just take your time. You can obviously do this in a mixer if you prefer. I was just being lazy and I couldn't be bothered to get mine out. So it's quite soft, isn't it? So it's not really that much hard work. You just want to make sure that the sugar is really well combined in here. Little arm workout this is. I also want to add in 2 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm actually going to measure that. This one is really nice. It's vanilla extract. Oh my goodness, the smell is beautiful. Okay, so 2 of those and a bit on the worktop. Now at this stage, we don't want to overbeat this. That's important. So add these in. If you're using an electric blender, mixer, then just go careful, just go slow, don't go too crazy. Now we're going to be making a berry sauce, and that is going to be in the bottom of the Ninja pot. So I add in frozen mixed berries. So in here I've got raspberries, black currants, red currants and strawberries. And you want 450 grams. And to those, we add over the top 45 grams. There you go, nearly. Yeah, there we go, of granulated sugar and 145 millilitres of water. Remember, there's going to be water that's going to come out of the frozen berries. So if you're wondering why, you know, it's not a massive amount, that is the reason. Just grabbing my base here, and then we can pour over our lovely cheesecake, vanilla cheesecake mix. So I'm using the reversible rack that we've got here, so it can go either way up. We want it so that this sits on the low position. And let's get our cheesecake straight on the rack and over those berries. Go careful. Okay, so we slide over to our combi steam in the center here, and we want to steam bake this. Now you want to have this on fairly low, on 120, and from when I've practiced this, it's taken 46 minutes. Yeah, I know, pretty precise, isn't it? So let's go up to 46, and when we press start, it will show pre, which means that it's preheating, and it can take some time. It can take really up to around 20 minutes, so don't worry, that's completely normal. Remember, you've got that frozen fruit in there. So let's go. Here we go, moment of truth. It is finished. Whoa, there we go. Okay. So there is our gorgeous berry sauce. Look at that. Oh, that looks so nice. It smells just incredible. Let's move over to the cheesecake. Can you see how light the texture is on this? Look at that. It's sort of springy and spongy. Now it is a little bit wobbly in the middle, but that is how it is meant to be. So do not worry about that at all. Now I'm going to leave this on the rack to cool completely before we put it in the fridge. Same with this lovely fruit compote that we've got here, our fruity sauce. Leave that to cool as well. And then it's all going to go in the fridge and we're going to assemble it tomorrow. So I've just added the sauce to the top of the cheesecake, and that has gone nice and thick and firm where that's been in the fridge, so it's really easy to put that on the top. Now I'm going to cut up the strawberries and we're going to make it look even prettier. Here it is, ready to serve, my strawberry and vanilla cheesecake. Okay, so you could make this straight into the bottom here, no problem whatsoever. However, I'm making this for my dad, that when he comes around later, I can give it to him. So what I have done is I've got a glass bowl here and I've made this little sort of hammock, I think you would call it. So basically the way that's going to work is it's going to allow me to easily, to get that out when that's hot. So I just thought that's just a simple thing to do, makes it a little bit easier. But for now, let's start layering this up, and we are going to use some really easy mixed berries. These are the perfectly imperfect, so they're lovely and cheap, not going to cost you a fortune to make this pudding. You can make custard, of course, and I will put the recipe down below for you, but I'm just going to be using this Devon custard because I'm still recovering from foot surgery, so I can't stand for too long. This is a nice, easy cheat. Crumble couldn't be easier. We need some butter, some sugar, and some plain flour. So first step is to get your berries in the bottom here, and I'm putting these in from frozen, so you don't have to worry about defrosting these. Going to be fairly generous with those because they are going to, as they cook, they're going to mush down. Then on top of the berries, just to make sure that they are nice and sweet and not too tart, we're going to add some sugar. Right, now let's open up this custard. I always cook everything from scratch. This feels so weird using this kind of custard, but needs must. And I'm sure they're going to enjoy it either way. They're probably not even going to notice. It's just me that knows. So a nice generous layer of this custard, like that. We can just sort of smooth that down over the fruit. And then as you can see, we've still got enough room for a decent layer of crumble on there. So I'm going in with 150 grams of plain flour. And now 75 grams of sugar. And then into that, you want to add your cold butter. It's really important that it's cold because it's going to help it to crumble nicely. You want 75 grams in total. So I'm just using a knife and just putting it in little bit by little. Now it's a case of getting your hands in and rubbing this all together. Now we're just going to put all of that crumble mixture over the top. So we have got a little bit of a dome going on, but I'm fine with that. I think once that fruit gets hot and gets cooked, it's going to sink down. So let's pop the crumble inside. I think around 30 minutes, but I will check it and keep an eye on it. Having the foil really helped to get that out really easy, so that's a good little tip for you. Look at that, so we've got the layer of the fruit that is blipping away in there. We've got the lovely creamy custard and then a beautiful crumbly top. And that has got a nice amount of colour, just how I wanted it. Such an easy start with this. Just weigh out your pudding rice, and I've got 300 grams. Straight in the bowl. To that, I'm adding 500 millilitres of water. Nothing else in there at this stage. And that is it. We're going to pressure cook that and then move on. So So let's slide over to pressure cook. We want to have this on high, 10 minutes, and we also want a quick release. So just go down to quick release. That's all there is to it at this stage. I've opened the lid and we want to get into that our full fat milk. We've got 500 millilitres of that, and also 100 millilitres of double cream. A teaspoon of vanilla is going to give this so much flavour. This one's very sticky, look at that. Get that in. And also 100 grams of caster sugar. I'm now putting this on to sear and saute, and we're going to stir that continuously for about 5 to 10 minutes until we get it to the right consistency. I've actually turned the heat right down on this rice pudding, so this has been simmering for a little bit longer on the sear and saute, so around 15 minutes. And now we are ready to serve up a lovely portion of that. I hope you've enjoyed these Ninja Foodi dessert recipes. Please don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to my channel. Use my shop link down below to purchase a copy of my cookbook.